Hi, I'm Cindy from BeDancewear.com, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make this tutu. It's so much fun to make and so much fun for little girls to wear. When you see them, they're just going to love it. It's the perfect little accessory to make for fun, for dance, or even for a little flower girl like I did for my daughter's flower girls in her wedding. So if you want to find out how to make this, this is the video for you. So in this video, what you're going to need to make this skirt is you're going to need a circle skirt because you want it lined underneath. If you don't want it lined underneath, you can just sew a band, but you really don't want that see-through. So I have taken a circle skirt. It has a nice thick band on it that I like. I've taken some tulle, and what I did is I taped it on both sides, and then I actually cut right through the tulle, so it gives me exact length that I want. Something you're going to want to think about is the length of the skirt. You want that tulle to go past it. You don't want it shorter than the skirt, and you want it to be able to fluff out. So I'm going to go ahead and start the first process. I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. You want to be careful when you cut this, not to cut the tulle. So you pull that out. And let's get this side. The tulle is pretty thin, so you want to be careful. Now, something you'll want to think about is how thick do you want the tulle? Do you want just one layer, or you might want to take it and then double, triple, or even quadruple it up so it's nice and thick, because you're going to gather it, but if you have multiple layers, it won't be as thin. So I'm just going to do this with one layer. I'm doing it with different colors so you can really see what's going on. The skirt is in yellow, this is in black. In the beginning, I have it all in white because that's how I wanted it to end up, but I feel like you will see it a lot better this way. So we have all these parts, and then now we're going to sew them together. Okay, so I have the tulle. That's going to be the first thing I sew. I'm going to do it in just one layer. It all depends on how full you want it. I usually do about 3 times the width of the bottom, because you want it full. If you do by the width of the top, what's going to happen is it'll be almost like a tube kind of thing. So I do the width of the bottom, but really gather it up. So when I'm measuring it out, that's what I figure I'm going to use. And sometimes it's a little less, sometimes it's a little more. So I'll sew a little past that, and then that way I have extra I can always cut off. So as you can see on here, around this outside of the circle, it's so much wider than the center. So once you measure that and figure out how much tulle you need, and it always ends up being a lot more than you think, what you're going to do is you're going to start off the tulle in a straight stitch. You want it kind of close to the edge, and then I'm just going to take it with my fingers and gather it up. Now, if you're doing 4 layers, you might want to take a straight stitch and sew all the layers together all at once and then gather them up. But in this case, I'm just going to do one for so that you can see it, okay? So I'm going to take it and gather it up. I'm just going to go a few inches and then gather more. Keep it nice and tight. It's a quick and easy way to do it. You don't have to get yourself all crazy. And then keep doing that. And then you're just going to keep on. I like to keep it still on the roll so then I can roll as I go, so I kind of have some sort of control over it. And then you're just going to keep going and gather it up. Keep sewing, and then keep going, and just watch this side over here. You want to make sure it's always even. We're going to trim that away, but for right now, you want to make sure it's even because that'll keep the hem on the bottom even. If you're zigzagging around and then trim it away, then you're going to end up with a weird edge on the bottom. And then gather up some more. Now I'm going to stop here just so it's really easy to show you. I would keep going for yards and yards of this. I'm going to go ahead and cut that off. And then let's sew it like this. And then pull that up. So you see how it's a nice gathered look. I used a red thread. I'll flip it around so you can see the white thread on the bottom. How it's just about 1 inch from the top. You do it whatever is manageable for you. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take that circle skirt. I find it easier to put the skirt inside and then the band on the bottom here, because then the tulle is on that outside. Now remember, you're going to want to use a zigzag because that's going to need to stretch a little when you put it on and off. And see this line right between the band and the skirt itself where it's sewn together? I'm going to sew just above that so you don't see that band. So we'll switch it to a zigzag. I always start in the back of the seam because it makes it a lot easier. Now something else is the stitch inside, the overlock stitch. I find it easier if you fold that down. Make sure it always, when you're sewing around the skirt, however you sew it, if you sew it with it flipped up, keep it flipped up all the way around. If you have it flipped down, keep it that way so it stays consistent looking. Okay, so we're going to fold that down. And I'm going to tug this a little as I go so that it still stretches when the girl puts it on. We're going to switch this to a zigzag. And I'm going to use a little bit wider of a zigzag. If you have a stretch stitch, that's the better stitch to use. So you'll have the skirt this direction. You'll have the tulle this direction because you're going to flip it back over that way. It'll make it look nice and full. So at the center, we're going to go ahead and put this. You're going to have it, the right and the left are going to meet up with each other and just overlap a smidge, because as the skirt gets wider at the bottom, you want to make sure it overlaps enough that there's not a gap at the bottom. And so I'm going to go ahead and set this down. I'm going to stretch it just a little, and I'm going to zigzag it. And then I just keep slow and maneuver it around and zigzag. Just like that. Now I'm going to show you. So see how the skirt is here, that is sewn that way. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go in and trim this nice and close. If you want it to puff out a little more, you can leave that there, but as long as you trim that nice and close, giving a little bit of space, then what will happen is when you flip this over, it'll give you a nice band on the top and then the tulle gathered up on the bottom. And you just continue that all the way around, and it's really that easy to make this type of a skirt. Thank you for watching our video, and if you enjoyed it, make sure and click here to subscribe because we're going to have some amazing DIY videos coming out. And if you want to get our free complete dance costume DIY guide, click right here or go to bdancewear.com/DIY guide. And lastly, if you have any questions or ideas for future videos, please leave it in the comments below. Thanks again for watching our video. And remember, be original, be colorful, be dancewear.com.